Hey everyone, so glad that you're joining us back for another Rockstar interview. So I've got Anders Boulanger from The Infotainers, and we are going to be talking about the importance of creating an experience. So those of you who've watched some of my vlogs and have been connecting with other rock stars, we're seeing this shift between employee engagement to the employee experience. And Anders, you're all about creating experiences. Tell us a little bit about your biz and why the experience is where it's at.
All right. Well, my background, to go way back, I started doing magic as a magician when I was 5 years old. I got a little Fisher-Price magic set for Christmas. Started doing birthday parties when I was probably about 12 years old. Did magic all the way, paid my way through university, and continuing doing that as a full-time gig. And then what happened, about 2007, I got trained by kind of like the best who ever lived, which sounds funny, at trade show magic. And so I started shifting my attention to that. So what that is when we work with a company to learn about their messaging, and the magic that is performed becomes a transformation mechanism to engage minds, to add a novelty factor so that people are intrigued and interested, and at the same time they're going to learn about the company. So our presentations become this vehicle for companies to communicate their value proposition in an entertaining and engaging way. So we do this for mostly technology companies throughout the States and Europe. I have also a number of certified infotainers that work with us as well that can deliver the same kind of experience. So yeah.
And there's
so
that word again, experience, right?
Yeah.
What is the heart of when you're teaching people how to do what you do and do it so well,
right.
What's at the heart of creating an experience for people?
Well, I think for me, like I've learned certain things over the years in terms of, because you got to imagine if you've ever been to a trade show before, and some of these trade shows are pretty wild, right? Like I've seen
You're
bicycle powered Ferris wheel in a trade show. I've seen like an American Ninja Warrior course as a booth. I've seen all these kinds of things.
Going to the right trade shows, I gotta say.
Yeah, I know. These and tech trade shows, because software has huge, gross margins. They have a lot of money to pour into marketing, so you get these crazy things happening. So if you go to these trade shows, like you were just like bombarded by stimuli, right? And the thing is, you can almost point out the people who have never been to their first time because they are overwhelmed, right? And so
it'd be all the HR people watching this video.
Right. Well, I'm trying to think. HR Tech, I think that's a big show in the States, something like that. I've done that one, and that one, yeah, you got all kinds of booths. But anyways, so would you have these people who, everyone's kind of wants a piece of them. They're in this space where, they're in Vegas maybe or something. They're in a new place. So, you have to take them from this like casual bystander sort of mode, and and we're in CAPS together, professional speakers. I always start with no audience. There's no audience there. I have to generate my own audience and then perform the presentation. So having to stop people in their tracks to then take them to the next level, that's the first step for us, because they don't even know that they're about to experience an experience. So,
well, and Anders, can we stop there just for one sec? Because what's coming to mind is so many people share with me about, what do I do about presenteeism? I've got people who are showing up to work, but they really don't have a sense of connection to their job, or they've lost that love and feeling. So, in your experience, you've had to create an audience. It's almost perhaps a parallel to workplaces, where we have to create this engaging experience and environment where people want to be. What are some of the secrets that maybe we can pull into workplaces that you use in your biz?
Sure. Well, the next step, once it's time for me to do a show, I'm waiting for a group of people to walk by. And one of the things that I've noticed is that, when you talk to just one person, they're singled out. Right? If you talk to two people, well, they feel a little safer in numbers. When there is, 3 people, 4 is a crowd kind of idea, there is actual math to that in terms of, or it makes sense to me, because as soon as we have 4 people in a group, that will actually attract other people to be interested in it. And so it has weight, it has social proof built into it. So for me to create an event starting to happen, I need to stop that level of people. But in terms of the energy that I give off, that is how I'm able to kind of get some, get lift off, if you will. So I talk in terms of what's going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
right? In terms of if you have any NLP background or future pacing. So I will talk about what they're about to experience and what they can expect from sticking around, because these people can leave at any time.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to have some sort of payoff to that, right? The what's
Yeah.
in it for me has to be addressed the whole time. So that's kind of, I'm painting that picture. I'm using actually a lot of, and I just say painted that picture, but I'm using lots of see, feel, and hear in terms of how I communicate. Because
Mm-hmm.
when you use words that are nominalizations, which are big, fancy, long words that often end with shun, or like communication and things like that, they get all corporate speak.
Mm-hmm.
People start to detach from that.
Yeah.
And so in terms of your HR people, how you communicate with people and talking, using the different, those modalities, those three
Mm-hmm.
modalities, and talking about how does it resonate with you, right? That's more of a kinesthetic piece. How does that,
Right.
how does that sound? And everyone has that different, they're probably stronger in one of those three. And if you speak to that, for that person, they're going to understand you more, right? They're going to connect with you more. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing a crowd of people, so I have to just do a shotgun approach, and I'm using all three. So
Right.
that way, I'm hitting everyone who's listening, because I don't have time to figure out what everyone is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then that's kind of part of it. Now I get to them a point. Sorry, I get really physical here, because I'm thinking about how this is. I bring them back, and I get up on my stage, kind of, so I'm up above the crowd. And what's been really working for me well over the last maybe year or two is I will kind of say, how many people realize this is not your normal presentation? And they've already seen a little bit of magic. They've seen, something's happening, but it is completely different from every other booth in terms of that initial
Mm-hmm.
phase. And people all put up their hand. And so always getting agreement in terms of, engaging and checking back in
Mm.
is part of how I keep them, because I don't want them to zone out,
Yeah.
So it's always like, I'm always asking them to repeat what I say, or raise a hand, nod your head if, and so I'm again involving their body to make it a multi-sensory experience, right?
Well, and I can picture how that would work in a meeting too. How, it may not be raise your hand. I mean, it might be, but it also can just be checking in with people
Yeah, no,
about,
it's totally,
is
yeah, it's totally just
is
checking in.
anyone frustrated about, or
Yeah.
have you seen this happening lately, or has anyone experienced a challenging client lately? Okay, so let's talk about that next on our agenda, as opposed to it be one-way telling, or we assume because somebody's asked to put it on the agenda that everybody cares about it. So
Yes,
I can
yes.
see how how
It,
you engage people is.
what's in it for me, so we're still in
Mhm.
alignment with that, so that checking in, and what I do, because when I'm performing, it is a bigger version of myself, right? It is not, so it's more of a performance. So of course, in the boardroom or wherever, you can take these things that I'm talking about and chunk them down to a more acceptable level of
Mhm.
energy or what have you. But so what I'll do is I'll have a little conversation with them, and I say, what we're about to do, I've done hundreds, if not thousands of times. And we're going to co-create an event here. And I kind of get agreement with this ring of people. It might be 12 people wrapped around me.
Mhm.
And I said, and I will promise you a very unique experience here at RSA or VMworld or whatever show. How many people are on board? And what I'm
Mhm.
doing is I used to just try to win people over in terms of the rest of the show, but I've actually have this like almost a little bit of a set agreement. Like, I'm going to give you everything I got in the next 15, 20 minutes. Now, I don't tell them how long it's going to be, because I don't
Mhm.
want them to think about that. But that's where I'm setting myself up to be energy wise. And I'm
Mhm.
like, are you guys on board? And it's this idea. And the only thing I'm going to ask of you is to get as close to me as possible, because
Mhm.
I want you to experience this swirling vortex of energy that I'm about to give off. How many
Mhm.
people know what I'm talking about? And then people will go, yeah, like they kind of, so I'm trying to sweep them up in my
Right.
energy is,
Well,
so I
and
know this is kind of out there a little bit, but anyways.
no, like, and the parallel I'm hearing is that that's actually a fundamental coaching principle that we use, is
Hmm.
that you get agreement from the beginning. You understand what the client most needs, and that's what you focus on. And that, to your point around getting agreement, it not only makes it what's in it for me, because of course that's what they most value, but also, I'm thinking again of the busy workplace where there's multiple competing priorities. What could be on the agenda may in fact not be what people need to chat about that day. It'd be interesting to pull your advice around getting some agreement to say, hey, I want this meeting to be the best possible meeting, or I want this performance appraisal to be the most helpful that it could be for you. If we were to, focus on, 3 things that would be really valuable to you, what would it be? So, I mean, it's a little bit different from of course, of how you do it, but
Sure.
I love the concept around invitation and create energy through the commitment.
Yes. So when they're on board, then it's like, all right, let's go. All right, so I'm going to take them on a journey. And that's another piece that we often talk about too, is that, customer buying journey. That is the whole experience from the moment you first encounter that brand or that company, and making sure that everything is in alignment all the time, and you're winning each of those moments of truth. So when we have our clients who are spending $100,000 on a booth, and they have no idea whether people will stop and even engage in what they have there, we're that piece of insurance to kind of, win over those people and have them take that second look, or take a closer look, I should say, at what they have to offer. So another piece that we utilize, and I actually have, I'm looking at it right now, but I have one part of the presentation where I have a picture of a frustrated man or woman, depending on the demographics of what the company is looking for and typically what it is, but in tech, mostly men for the most part. And I'll say, you see this guy? Some of you might know this man, some of you might be this man, or some of you might work with this man, some of you might even be this man. He's the frustrated fill in the blank title, right? So it'd be frustrated IT director. He's frustrated because, now I'm pointing to different things. Usually there's money, usually there's time on this kind of cardboard thing. But I'll also say, I'll point to him, how many people have ever felt the way this guy looks? Raise your hand. And then, so what I'm doing is I'm trying to pace their experience of the problem, of the challenges that they're facing. And I can tell how vertical a show or horizontal a show, and when I mean vertical, if you went to a trade show, that everybody at that trade show is your prospect, all the attendees, that's like a vertical show for you, that's nice. Now, a horizontal show, only a fraction of the people who attend that show will be your prospect. And when I do that routine and I have people getting engaged with that, I can tell how on point this company will, how they will serve, or how, how focused that is. Because people, and they're not in their head, oh, I know what you're talking about, right? And so again, when you can kind of pace that experience, they feel heard, they feel understood. And now that we've determined the problem, now I can then introduce the solution, right? And how we get there. And
well, so, and it's so important what you're talking about around people need to feel valued. They need to feel heard. They need to feel understood. And by connecting to the experience of engaging people and ensuring that the topics or what the focus is that's most relevant to them allows you to have a deeper level of connection and conversation with them. And I could see how, whether it be peer-to-peer or leader to staff, staff to leader, or even across departments, when people feel that they're speaking about the same problem that they're both invested in, or the same potential solution, perhaps I'm assuming is the next piece, then there's shared commitment to walk along that journey, which is part of what we're talking about with the experience, as opposed to engagement. I want people to, come to work and be involved, but I want actually it to be you're creating, how are we trying to create an experience for employees? Just like you're trying to create an amazing buying experience or potential buying experience for people. Yeah. It's connecting people at a multiple sensory level, at an emotional level, at a commitment level, at a just, a human to human connection level. Yeah.
No, and so I'm glad you're here, because to take the pieces out, because I can only explain what I do, but
it's good. Can
help.
I'm sure everyone on the line's like, why have I not gone to a trade show?
Right.
Anders, mine have been boring. So.
So that's, so at that point, as I continue on, you have, the front edge of your group are the people that we kind of had that commitment. And those people, because they're so close and they're so right there, they will watch as long as I keep going, right? And other people join us, right? And we build a crowd out. And those people, because they weren't there from the beginning, they need to be won over, by proxy kind of thing, or just by being there, right? And as it gets there. So the goal, though, at the end is there's always a call to action, or we want that crowd to do something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether we just get their badge scanned, or whether it's go to a demo or do something else. But part of it is for me to give enough of an experience in the booth that they will do what I ask them to do. Now, it's a reciprocity kind of thing there, that so I'm going to give them the best show I got in me, right? And we're going to have a good time. Someone has a chance to win $2,000 of my money. You know, there's a little bit gamification built into it as well, which is, you know, something that is a real buzzword in terms of, so there's that piece. There's an element of risk involved in terms of me losing my money, in terms of sometimes danger on me, not anyone else, but on me. Those pieces, because there is an unfinished business, or an open loop, as you would say, people want to see what happens, so they want to stay till the end. So these are part of the structures that are built in to make it very watchable and make it very engaging in that sense. But yeah, at the end, though, is then, you know, everyone had a good time. I often, and this is something that for me, the more I touch people, the more connected I feel to them, and the more it actually brings the group together. So in nowadays, I mean, you have to be so careful in terms of not, you know, offending people. But because I have people wrapped around me, I'm often just touching their, you know, the top of their shoulder, and it's mostly guys, so it's a little bit, you know. But the idea that, you know, there's a part where I hold on to someone's hand for like a really awkward long time. But when people see this kind of connection and they see you interacting with another person, there is something that, again, draws people to that, whether it's the human experience or whatever this is. So there's some really neat and interesting dynamics involved that I find fascinating, and I'm always trying to add that more into it. But again, that whole one over piece where everyone has had such a good time, I'm like, now here's what we're going to do. Everyone's going to follow me. We're going to go over here. And then everyone lines up behind me, and I can parade them around to the booth, to the demo. And that's when the amount of people who follow and the number of people who stay, that's kind of the measurement of how bought in they were. How much they, you know, enjoyed it or whatever, right? So,
and that's I mean, what, again, beautiful parallel to workplaces is that people vote with their feet. Is how many people, great people, can you retain in your workplace? Will they follow you, or will they leave, and not only leave the organization, but maybe leave to work for somebody else, or leave to do work for a different department, leave to switch to another industry, perhaps even just leave in terms of their willingness to give of their best. They may be just on the job retired. We talked about presenteeism already too. So it's an interesting, and, you know, I think that this is where this shift is so profound, and why, you know, looking at people who work outside of our traditional leadership and human resources industry, such as folks like you, is so important for us to pay attention to, because you're all about creating experiences. We have not been about creating experiences for employees in the workplace, and we cannot figure out why they keep leaving. But given that we're in the midst of a talent shortage that shows no signs of easing until 2030, we need to be in the business of creating experiences. That doesn't necessarily mean we need to juggle for our clients and entertain and do magic, although I think anybody would want to work for you, because how fun would that be?
Well, my sister Kristen, she just stepped out, but yeah, she does see a little bit of things once in a while.
That'd be pretty fun. That would be pretty fun. But, you know, that's really when people are having fun, they are more creative, they're learning, when people feel that somebody cares about them, when they feel heard, when they feel that, when, as you say, you know, it is a multi-sensory experience, when there is heart, when people tell stories as opposed to just, you know, have slides and stats and, you know, all of the things that you've talked about. Is there are so many parallels to the workplace. And I hope that people are seeing that this is not about magic. This is not about what they do to create a customer experience. The things that work in a customer experience, there are some metaphorical or actual literal translations to the employee experience.
In fact, Sarah, there is something that we teach in our Presenting for Profits training. I might share with you, and it's
do tell.
I have, we call it the Fundamental 5, And these are the 5 kind of musts that engaging presentations have to have. And it has nothing to relate to the content, because we're training subject matter experts who know a lot up here, but they have trouble, communicating and relating that to people. So I'll just kind of go through these quickly.
Anders, I think we should do a teaser alert for people. I think we should pause the video there.
Okay.
And then people can come back next week for these 5 tips. Would you be willing to come back with us next week?
I'd love to share that then. Sure.
Okay. All right. We are going to join Anders again next week. So everybody, don't forget to come back next Monday.